In 2009, THQ and WWE decided to dedicate an entire game to legends that once competed for the company. Instead of replacing a game in the SmackDown vs. Raw series, this was simply a spin-off. We'd seen games like this in the past with Legends of Wrestling by Acclaim, but how successful would an official WWE licensed game based on Legends end up? Well, let's find out. This is WWE Legends of WrestleMania for the Xbox 360. As the name implies, this game focuses on legends of the WWE, those that participated in classic WrestleMania matches to be specific. We get 38 superstars from the 80s and 90s with big names like Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, and many more. I can appreciate the wrestlers they chose to include, but I would have liked to see a little bit more variety. Notably missing are stars like Macho Man, Razor Ramon, Diesel, Mankind. But each wrestler in the game is based on a WrestleMania feud, so those that didn't get a match showcase didn't make the cut. Also missing is the inclusion of female wrestlers. Not a single one made the game. One cool feature is the ability to import the roster from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 into the game, with a few exceptions including divas. I do have to say though, it does look quite out of place seeing the likes of Batista at WrestleMania 10. There are 16 arenas in total to choose from, including WrestleMania 1 through 15, as well as one classic Royal Rumble arena. I'd say these arenas for the most part look pretty good. Hell, I'd say they even look a little bit better than some of the classic arenas in the more recent WWE games. With that being said, the crowd quality suffers quite a bit, and some of the arenas are a little too dark, and certain stages just couldn't be duplicated properly. Entrances, for the most part, look pretty good, but I just don't understand why any game that includes Hulk Hogan doesn't feature his famous shirt tearing. They were able to do this all the way back on the GameCube. They could do it here as well, but they didn't. The taunts, nameplates, and even the inclusion of Howard Finkel standing in the ring all help make these entrances truly feel true to their era. The entrance themes are a little bit off for some wrestlers, which is understandable given the era some of these guys come from, but some of them are just plain goofy, like Big Boss Man coming out to his Corporation era theme. Other than that, the main problem I have is more of a visual presentation problem with the wrestlers themselves. They all look really exaggerated, like how King Kong Bundy is a little too ripped or how Hulk Hogan has a little too much hair. They took a page straight out of Acclaim's book with this one. Now, if you've played the SmackDown series for years and you plan on picking this one up for the first time, be advised it's not the same game engine. Sure, it's based on the same system, but things have been simplified quite a bit here to feature a more pick-up-and-play arcade feel. Every command you need is now located on the face of the controller. The four main buttons consist of strike, grapple, block, and action. The grapple system is also quite different with the addition of the new chain moves. These moves are split up into sections with button prompts needed to finish each part of the move. If you fail the button prompt before your opponent, the move will be reversed. And if your reaction time is anything like mine, you'll be getting reversed quite a bit. There's also a lot of button mashing elements here, like when your wrestler gets knocked down, you'll need to fill a meter before your wrestler gets up. I remember another game doing the exact same thing. This new system is definitely unique in ways, but it causes things to feel a little more scripted, and it's removed a lot of freedom from the player. There are also different tiers of moves that can be performed, which are reflected by the number highlighted under your momentum meter. Each time your momentum meter reaches its peak, you'll reach a new level, which allows your wrestler to perform more powerful moves. After the third tier, you'll be able to perform a finisher. These finishers, like a lot of other moves featured in the game, are played out in sections with button prompts. Also, regardless of how a wrestler's finisher is performed, be it ground submissions or rear grapples, each finisher is initiated with both your wrestler and your opponent standing and facing each other. Along with this faster-paced arcade-style action comes a more unpredictable finish. You might think you've got a match in the bag, but it seems like all it takes at times is being on the receiving end of a few punches and a chain move to suddenly lose. Overall, I like the gameplay. It's a nice alternative to the SmackDown series. It is fun and easy to pick up, but it lacks that freedom and control that we're used to. Along with some game engine changes come some visual alterations as well. I mentioned the over-exaggerated wrestler models, which look more like action figures, and we also see a new camera angle. Instead of a fixed camera like games of the past, this camera follows the wrestlers as they move around the ring, constantly facing the side of them, kind of swinging around. It reminds me of WCW Thunder for the PlayStation. The camera does revert back to a fixed view in special match types though. Unfortunately, there is no referee present in the ring at any time, which is kind of a step back in the presentation department. Match types are a bit limited, with only ladder, cage, and Hell in a Cell for special matches in addition to the more standard matches like Submission and Royal Rumble. The ladder match plays a bit basic and again lacks that freedom that the other games have. Simply press B twice and your wrestler will not only set up the ladder but also automatically start climbing up it. From there it becomes a button masher between you trying to get the belt and your opponent trying to get up. Same can be said about the cage match. As you progress up the cage, it just becomes a game of who can mash the buttons faster. It definitely doesn't feel bad. I mean, it works well enough, but it makes for some rather quick matches. The Hell in a Cell match is actually quite fun. I love how the wrestlers start the match on top of the cell, and they made it really easy to perform special moves, whether it be throwing your opponent off of the cell or slamming them through the side of the cell. The basis for the Royal Rumble is actually quite unchanged from the SmackDown vs. Raw series. You'll still throw your opponent towards the ropes and then mash buttons to deplete their meter, which causes them to be eliminated. Though there aren't a whole lot of tag teams to select from, the tag matches are actually one of the high spots in the game. I like the heavy influence that your partner on the apron has, like the ability to pull down the top rope during an Irish whip or being able to summon a double team move. Managers also play a large role in the game, even though only 4 made the final roster. They'll aid you during your match by distracting the ref or attacking your opponent. It's only a shame there's no command to have them help, as sometimes when you really need them, they'll just be standing there. There aren't a lot as far as game modes go, but the big one here is WrestleMania Tour. Here you'll visit some famous WrestleMania matches from the past as you relive, rewrite, and redefine history. Reliving a match requires you to win it the way it actually happened, keeping the same outcome. When you rewrite a match, the roles need to be reversed, making sure that the wrestler who lost the match in reality is the winner in the game. And the redefine category requires you to change a stipulation of a famous WrestleMania match, like turning a regular singles match into a cage match. Each match features a certain amount of objectives that need to be completed in order to progress. Some of these tasks are easier than others, with some becoming frustrating to pull off, but overall I really enjoy the addition of these objectives, as without them I feel the matches would get a bit stale. Another cool thing about this mode are the video packages that play before matches, showcasing each feud. This helps really remind us why these wrestlers were headlining WrestleMania to begin with. The attention to detail is something that just seemed to get lost during development. Things like championships only having one model for each title despite appearing in different eras just seems a little lazy. Like The Rock coming out at WrestleMania 15 with the Winged Eagle Championship from the 80s. And speaking of titles, no matter what belt you're contending for in a ladder match, it will appear above the ring as the heavyweight title, only changing after it's been retrieved. The Create a Legend mode makes an appearance here, and while it's pretty much plucked straight from SmackDown vs. Raw, there are still some new additions here, including clothing for legends that didn't make the game. The biggest problem here is the fact that, other than the preset entrance animations for other wrestlers, there aren't a lot of options, so even if I manage to make Razor Ramon, it just won't quite feel like it's him when he's making his way to the ring. Once you've created a wrestler, you can take him or an imported superstar into the game's Legend Killer mode. This is like a survival mode, placing you against a series of legends while retaining the same health meter. As you progress, you'll earn experience points that can be used to boost your wrestler's attributes. Eventually, you'll take on the entire roster one by one in a single sitting, which, as you can imagine, can become quite difficult. It's clear they wanted to cash in on what Acclaim had started nearly a decade earlier, but it just didn't get the attention it deserved, probably due to the fact that another game was being developed by the same team at the same time. But honestly, there's still some good short-term fun to be had here, and I would definitely recommend this game to hardcore wrestling fans, and even those looking for a simplistic brawler. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember to stay tuned for more Spotlight video game reviews and Wrestling Talk videos.